Hello, happy Monday, and welcome to the Monday Morning Pep Talk. In this week's installment, we're going to dig into I'm not fairly compensated. Throughout the course of my career, I've been compensated very fairly for the value I've created, and often compensated very unfairly for the value I've created. On one hand, I've worked at billion-dollar companies that compensated me very fairly for the value I created for them and their clients. In that situation, they were able to charge their clients a very hefty fee for my time and could in turn afford to pay me a very good salary. But on the other hand, I've worked at startups, nonprofits, and social enterprises where I was able to create significant value, but they were not in a position at the time to pay me what my fair value was. So let's talk about the problem. What I've learned through these very disparate experiences and many others in between is that there are two major elements in the compensation equation. The first is, what is the value you create in the world and how is it typically valued? This is usually a function of the area of expertise, the level of experience you have, so how many years you've been doing something, and what is the current market for those skills and experiences. The second part of the equation is, how does the system or organization within which you are working earn money or create value in the world? As I mentioned, the billion-dollar company was able to pay me more because they could charge more for my time, whereas an under-resourced nonprofit may not be able to get enough donations or earn enough money to pay folks a living or a fair wage. And obviously, there are all kinds of different organizations and financial circumstances in between. Now that we've identified these two components, how can we kind of more productively reframe this? As always, we need to start by doing a little bit of a diagnosis of our specific circumstance and determine what's the root cause for us. Are you actually not being compensated fairly for the value you're creating? This is usually pretty evident if you know a lot of people in your role or in similar roles that are being paid more than you are. Or is the problem you're working somewhere that cannot actually afford to pay you for your value? You can usually explore this by looking at your company's business model, looking at their financial statements, and better understanding how your organization makes money and where your specific salary comes from. If you explore these questions, you should be able to better understand what is really impacting your compensation. When I left my last job, it was because even though I knew I was creating value and I was being fairly compensated, the organization could not sustain the role I was in its current form. I was in a cost center. I was costing the organization money, and there wasn't a corresponding kind of revenue generating activity for what I was doing. I knew the firm needed to invest its money in roles that were generating revenue. So, since I was not generating revenue, it made it easy for me to leave and focus on finding or creating, in my case, a role where not only did I know I could add value and be fairly compensated for it, but in a company and an environment that I knew it would be sustainable. So, what can you do this week to kind of help you get closer to being fairly compensated? The first thing is to really just determine what fair compensation is for your job, skills, and experience level. Ask yourself, for the job you're in or the jobs you're considering, what are those jobs paying for somebody who has my level of experience or someone who can create the kind of value that I can create? And this is a place where I think you can always think bigger. If you want to create more value for a company, what could you do? One of my favorite stories here is about someone who really, really wanted to work for a company and they didn't have the skills, they didn't have the experience. So what they did to show that company value was they went out and they got that company 5 new customers. And then they went to the company and said, hey, I got you 5 new customers. And that was enough to actually get them a job. So think creatively here about how you can demonstrate value to a company that may not actually fall within kind of more traditional structures. Number 2, look at the system you're working within. As we said, look at and understand how your company makes money and where your salary comes from. Understand how you create value for the company. And once you have those pieces of the puzzle, you can make a decision. Ask yourself, am I being fairly compensated for my value in the system I'm in? If the answer is no, you can start looking at other opportunities. You can ask yourself, do I like this place enough that I really want to stay? And could I maybe get another, job offer from someone else to use as leverage, to get more of a salary here? I have two dear friends that use this approach, and they got offers from other places, and it allowed them to very easily and kind of quickly renegotiate their current roles and salaries. The other question to ask yourself is money the most important thing to you? Would you rather have more money, or in some cases, would you rather have more time back? This is something that's become more important to me as I've gotten further along in my career. Instead of a raise, I would much rather have more time, whether it's more vacation or an abbreviated work schedule. So spend time thinking about what's actually more important to you. Is it the money? Or would you rather negotiate to trade some of your time back for some of that money? Please give this a try as always and let us know how it goes. We're here for you always if you need a hand as you're working through these exercises, so please don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks as always for your time and attention. Remember, I love you, I believe in you, and I'm here for you. Take care of yourselves and one another, and we'll see you again next week.